Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sunday Club. And I'm very grateful to Captain Rai for joining us this evening on a very serious subject, that of the Air India crash on the Ahmedabad to Delhi flight. I'm sorry, Ahmedabad to London flight. And Captain Rai is, of course, former pilot, has flown the very same plane, has experience of 42 years flying. And Captain, how many hours would that be, Captain Rai? Thank you and welcome. But how many flying hours is that?
I was in the Air Force before I joined Air India.
Okay.
So I was in the Air Force and joined Air India. That was about 30 years ago. Yeah.
Hmm.
I
And you
stopped counting.
retired. You stopped counting your hours. I can imagine. And Captain, you've of course have been tracking this particular story. You've been flying these planes. Can you tell us a little bit about this plane?
Uh, it's a very good aeroplane. I mean, I've flown it for good about 12 years and no serious issues as such. So, prima facie, I mean, never faced any problem and good aeroplane to fly, technologically very advanced and very, very nice aeroplane to fly.
Mhm. When you say very nice aeroplane, what do you mean by that, Captain? If you could just explain for us in like layperson
Uh,
terms.
it's a it's a very technologically very advanced aeroplane and a lot of automation, a lot of computerization in the aeroplane, and it's an electrical aeroplane, first
Mhm.
electrical aeroplane. I mean, quite a lot of systems in the aeroplane are operated electrically. So it's a
Mhm.
new philosophy basically.
And these are planes that are easy in the sense for a pilot to adjust to adapt to.
Yes, because of the amount of redundancy in the aeroplane, they're very easy to fly and very safe otherwise.
And all major airlines has this particular model of plane, right?
Close to 1,000 aeroplanes are flying, and they have been flying for good about 15 years now.
And this route, from Ahmedabad to London is quite a normal route. I think the flight goes every day, if I'm not mistaken.
It's
Very
a scheduled
regular
flight.
sort of thing.
It's an everyday flight, I think, and it's a very normal flight,
Captain,
scheduled flight.
have you flown this sector? Have you flown this sector?
Yes, I've flown this
Ahmedabad,
sector a
London?
few times. Yeah, I've flown a few times. Yes.
Oh. And anything about the Ahmedabad airport that stands out to you as a pilot, where what makes it different from the other airports that you
Only
fly into?
only thing about Ahmedabad airport is it does have slightly larger bird activity compared to other airports. But the accident investigation board has said that on that particular day there was not much of bird activity. Also, the airport is surrounded by a lot of habitation, a lot of buildings are there, a lot of people staying there. So there's no clear area around the airport.
So those are the two things. And the bird activity was something also that was looked at very seriously in the immediate aftermath of this
Yeah,
particular crash, but ruled
yeah.
out also very quickly because that's
I
easy
believe
to
it
kind
has
of.
been ruled out. It has been ruled out that it's not due to bird hit or anything of that kind.
And Captain, before we get into the specifics of this prelim report, you must have a lot of colleagues in the airline and, of course, in other airlines as well around the world. What has been the response in the community, the pilot community?
You're asking about this particular incident?
Yes, post this incident, yes.
Yeah, there is a clear divide, you know, amongst the pilots in the Asian region and India. Uh, we are fully supporting Captain Sumit Sabharwal and the actions which he took. Whereas there is a definite bias in the Western world. Quite a lot of Western pilots have come out with statements which are very irresponsible and
Yeah.
they have not been, they have not carried out their proper research before, coming out in the media.
But can we blame them considering this report was released at 1 a.m. and that was a time when we were not necessarily keeping an eye out for it, and the Western media picked it up immediately and spun it in the way that they wanted to?
I'm talking about a time frame when the report had not come out.
Oh, even then.
Even before that, they were speculating a lot of wrong things and trying to say that Indian pilots maybe don't know how to fly or something like that.
Wow.
The training is lacking and statements to that effect.
Okay. So this started a lot earlier than the report actually.
Immediately after the accident.
But why
After the accident. I don't know why they behaved in such manner, and most of the time they were shot down. They were shot down by other pilots from all around the world. There were a lot of pilots who were supporting us from all around the world, and all these people who were making these irresponsible statements, they were shot down in all those platforms.
And now, Captain, there's also this sense that from this report, like, I'm not an expert, I'm just going by media reports and those kind of things, that there could be pilot error or intention behind this particular accident, or that's at least what's being communicated to the larger public in general. How do you respond to that?
All those people who are making these kind of statements they're behaving in a very irresponsible manner. Nothing concrete has come out from this report. This is a very cursory report. The conversation which took place in the cockpit, which they are talking about, that one sentence does not give the full story. Because in the cockpit, I'm very sure that was not the only sentence spoken. And the time frame of that statement which was made in the cockpit is not given. So how do we know at what stage of the flight this statement was made? This statement could have been made at a time when they were trying to relight the engine. Who knows that? So the time frame is not given. So based on this statement, nobody can say that it was an intentional act. So making statements like it was a pilot error and all is hurting the sentiments of the relatives of the pilots and to the pilot community in general. Yeah, pilot community in general. Yeah.
But Captain, and we're joined by Pallavi Ghose as well now, senior editor with CNN News 18, and that's Captain Rai, Pallavi.
Hello, Captain.
So, Captain, why would they release just that one bit of conversation? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that's a $1 million question as to why did they they come out with only just one statement.
Correct. Because
are they trying to hide something? Are they trying to hide something? Are they trying to create a narrative? We do not know. So the whole story will come out only when we hear the whole thing about the cockpit voice recorder. Thus, this one sentence doesn't mean anything. And like I told you, the timeline of this sentence is very important.
Correct. So what they fail to mention is actually at what time this happened in the flight, and also who said this to whom. I found that very interesting, that they didn't identify who was saying this.
You're absolutely right. It doesn't mention who said what. It just mentions pilot 1 and pilot 2. Who was that pilot 1 and who was that pilot 2? It doesn't mention that. So it's very ambiguous. Things are not very clear in this whole report.
Do you think this is ambiguity caused by carelessness by the person who wrote the report, or is it intentional?
The way I look at it, it appears to be intentional. They're trying to create a narrative to somehow apportion the blame on the pilots. But we'll have to wait and see. I mean, that again would be slightly irresponsible on my part to say that. Unless we get the whole story, we really do not know what has happened. But based on this statement, to say that it was a pilot error is absolutely wrong.
But why release a preliminary report in any case if you are going to not be able to reveal the things? Is there pressure to reveal it at this point of time? Is that the standard practice? How does it work, Captain, in airline investigation, crash investigations?
They have a timeline of 30 days from the accident date, and 30 days expired on 11th of July. So they came out with this report on 12th of July. But then this report has created more confusion than, making
Yes.
clear.
Yes. In fact, I remember in the US when there was that terrible, accident in January when a military chopper collided into a plane at Dulles Airport in Washington. There was again a lot of conjecture. There was this whole narrative that was built that the helicopter pilot was actually a woman, and then they were saying it was a trans woman. And there's this tendency now, even with social media, to kind of go after what they perceive to be the weakest link. And all of that, of course, turned out not to be true. But Pallavi, Captain and I were discussing the fact that this report was released at a very odd time at 1 a.m. Now, you're a journalist. You all had your eyes on this. You knew it was coming out because I remember, that conversation taking place. So you were expecting it. But what a strange time to release it.
Yeah, we were expecting it. It was supposed to come out on Saturday, but we thought it's going to happen sometime in the afternoon. So it caught all of us unawares. The interesting part is the civil aviation minister was not in town. He was at another event in Vizag, and it at 1:15 a.m. And it was released by PIB. That is usually the time when PIB shuts down. I mean, it's like any Sarkari office which shuts down by 5 or 6. So obviously there was someone who was present there to release that report on site, and at 1:15 a.m. And I agree with both of you. Even for us, it was a little baffling. I mean, was there really a need for an interim report? I mean, they are saying there's a black box that's going to take some time. That could have been an explanation coming in from the ministry also, that we are going to need some more time because there's a black box there. We need to decipher it. So there was no pressure, but I think there was some kind of a pressure. And for lay people like me who don't understand the aviation lingo and all of that, I think it's very, very unfair, and I feel very strongly about it. And I've been talking about this, that just that one line conversation. I mean, I don't know whether it's a routine conversation. I mean, the captain would be better where pilots talk to each other. But why do you even come out with it? It's like you're titillating, because usi ke basis pe BBC picks it up. And if you look at the social media, I mean, all of them have already passed a verdict that, and then there's a kind of very bad conspiracy angle coming out. I don't know. I mean, maybe the final report talks about a pilot misjudgment or something. But is it fair that to talk about it now as a possible pilot error, and is Boeing being defended? Those are those questions which are being thrown up. And see, next week the parliament session begins, and this is already going to be made one of the main issues in which you're going to see a spat between the opposition and the government. And I suspect this whole thing will again become very politicized, unfortunately. Even at that parliamentary committee meeting, which was taking place day before on aviation, where there were representatives of Indigo, Air India, and all of them. And most of the MPs actually said that it's so unfair that if you are going to blame the pilots, I mean, you have to find out whether Boeing was at fault, aircraft maintenance was at fault, Celebi being removed last minute, was there proper maintenance happening? All of these factors, somewhere in the end of the report, it just ends up by saying we can't conclude anything. So why do you even need to have an interim report?
See the wording. See the wording.
Yes, go ahead, Captain.
The wording of the report, if you see,
yes,
the conversation, it says, why did you cut it off? Whereas at other places, they say that the fuel control switch transitioned from run to cut off. So transition could be an electronic transition from run to cut off.
And Captain, is there any way of corroborating whether this conversation actually took place? I mean, we have not been released the audio, right? So we have to go by what the report says.
See, if the cockpit voice recorder, the whole conversation comes out, the cockpit has got two mics. Mic 1 and mic 2. And based on which mic picked up the conversation, it can be made out who said what. So,
In
like they
fact,
have said, pilot one and pilot two, we do not know
But they didn't
who is.
release the audio, so we don't know now.
No, we don't know. So
one
unless we get the whole audio, we cannot
Yeah,
really know what has happened. And
I think
audio also, they have not given
exactly.
a timeline of the audio.
right.
When was this sentence spoken? They have not given that. This
Yeah,
Actually,
it could
I
have
sentence
been
read.
would
at the
have,
fag end of a conversation. It could have
Yeah,
been
yeah,
something
Captain,
else.
this
Captain, I
sentence could
read
have been
somewhere.
spoken at the time when they were trying to relight the engine, right?
Yeah, and I read somewhere, Captain, correct me if I'm wrong, that he said that why have you shut it down? And the other pilot said, no, I haven't. I haven't shut it down. I think that is what we read. But I think this is a larger point which Pallavi is saying. Nobody's, lay people are not going to read the entire report. Media will cherry pick whatever gives them TRPs or, eyeballs, and only that much. And politicians will, of course, twist it, turn it as it suits them. But the most, what Advaita, we don't yet have AIM on the thing, and we would have, I would have differed with AIM. Can't talk about you. I am little, concerned about people jumping not only into the theory. Okay, fine. You say that I support this particular hypothesis, but people are going overboard to prove that their theory is right. To say what are the records of how many pilot suicides have happened, how they brought down aircraft and getting into psychological issues and all that comes later. Okay, you might say, okay, that's one of the options, one of the possibilities, but you don't just pile onto it with so much of authority. Who knows what has really happened? And if it is indeed the pilot was not in the mentally right frame, that also would raise questions about the airlines. What are their protocols to check whether the pilot is fit to fly? And so this is getting very, very, I think it's very unfair on everybody. Think of the pilot's family. And apart from the families of everybody, to think that their a family member is being accused of bringing down an aircraft with so many passengers. Yeah, go
Captain,
ahead,
I want to ask you
Advaita.
this. Captain, yeah, Captain, this thing about blaming the pilots. Now, of course, they have families. Captain Sabharwal has a very aged father who he was the primary caretaker for. And from what I know, his first officer, Clive, was due to be married. So, they were people who had lives, who had responsibilities, who had things to look forward to. Uh, and now these families, those left behind, what happens in a situation like this? I mean, there is vulnerability. There are a lot of angry, upset people because so many lives have been lost. Is it a good time to give them some sort of security?
Uh, I don't know whether security would do any good, but what is required right now for the Indian media to come in support of the pilots, because the statements being made worldwide is very demoralizing for us. And I would go to the extent of saying that the Western media is behaving in a white supremacist manner. Look at BBC, look at Wall Street Journal, the kind of things they're talking about, and some of the foreign pilots. So
And it was,
we need to come
yeah,
down on them and tell them just lay off.
and
Yeah.
You
it was
cross the
Okay.
red
leaked to
line.
them, and it was leaked to WHA and BBC before everybody else. So these shows that there are, forces working with an agenda. And there, if our own people pile onto it and as force multiplier to what the foreign media is doing, and with their own, as you said, whether it's a white supremacist attitude or there are some other angles to it, that is most unfortunate. And these, international, multinational companies are not beyond using the influencers, their PR machinery. They have very, very sophisticated thing to build opinion, build narratives, and because there is lots at stake for them, as indeed it is also for Air India.
Sandeep, someone told me that this information was released at the time that the US stock market closed. Boeing is, of course, listed. So, what happens to a company like Boeing, which has already been in trouble for that Air Max. I think Captain will know that model much better than I will, but that has been a very problematic flight model for them. So when you say that these narratives could be being built around that, it's very likely, isn't it?
It's not just the stock market, Advaita. I think it's much more than that. When America is trying to push business across the world, their own products, if Boeing's credibility takes a hit, as you've seen even in military aircrafts, how people were gunning after Dassault or Rafale, and others were saying, because everybody is in this game. American economy depends more than the stock market, stock prices of Boeing in how many aircraft Boeing sells. So it would be in their interest also to protect Boeing's credibility or their thing as opposed to an Airbus. So these are, realities in the international, especially in aviation and arms sector, and nobody can be naive about it. And if luckily we are having some politicians now who are talking somewhere in the center, talking sense, but most of our people take such extreme views. If they are blindsided by these realities, I think it's terrible, not only for the country, but as Captain said,
Yeah,
it's about the
yeah,
people, about people. Look at the so many Indian pilots. What would be, how it will affect their credibility worldwide? There are many Indian
exactly.
pilots today trying to get onto international airlines. So many kids have qualified. You're ruining their credibility at one go, one stroke.
Right.
Advaita, through you, I would like to request the media in India not to give credence to all this white supremacist attitude being thrown by the Western world, and our media should counter all that. Instead of highlighting those kind of comments on our TV, we should ignore them. We should
And
completely ignore them. Don't air it on the TV or anywhere.
and
Completely ignore them
Captain,
because they are
yeah,
worth to be thrown in a
nothing.
trash can. Nothing else.
And Captain, the point is people are being selective. There are many experts speaking, including our Ravi Prasad Rudy, who is a pilot, not only a licensed pilot, he's regularly flying. If you hear Mr. Rudy's analysis, it's far more sensible, far more. But instead of doing that, one particular pilot, he decides to take that stand. One doesn't know what are his credential, why we should accept his word as gospel truth, as opposed to others, channels are just playing it up. Talk about three or four versions and say, okay, these are all possibilities at the moment. This is an interim report. We have to wait for further
Yeah,
light on it.
correct,
Then,
correct.
then take
Yeah,
firm position.
correct.
We need to
Pallavi,
completely, Advaita,
yeah,
we need to completely ignore the Western media and all these kind of irresponsible statements and make sure that they are not shown on the TV here. That's the only way they can learn lesson.
Captain, it's not just Western
Pallavi,
media. A lot of our people are jumping
Yes,
on,
there
and
are
they're
there are a few of us. I agree with you. I agree with you. There are a few of us who are meddling into the issue and making irresponsible statements.
Pallavi, I want to ask you. You said that this is going to be a very heated topic of debate in Parliament. So, what is the stance of the opposition? On what basis are they going to attack the government? Air India has been privatized. What is the basis?
No, and to be very fair, opposition parties have also been very in defense of the pilots. At least, if I'm going to go by the parliamentary standing committee meeting, which took place day before, where representatives of Air India, Boeing, all of them were very present there. So they are supporting the pilots. What they're going to be critical, and they are critical of the government, is that what is it that the DGCA is doing? Why isn't it that the DGCA has been able to crack the whip? I mean, there have been one complaint after another to Air India about Air India, Indigo, and how passenger safety doesn't seem to be the priority for the government. Pretty much the same thing. Remember, Advaita, what they say about the railways. I mean, every time an accident takes place, the focus shifts to the minister being a real minister and not concerned about the safety. That's the same thing. They're saying that you are starting off new airports, you are starting off so many routes, but basic safety is something which the DGCA is a defunct body. It's not doing anything about it. And what is the Civil Aviation Ministry even meant for? Why can't they crack the whip every time an Air India or an Indigo flight, and there are passengers who complain, like you're not even told about whether your flight is going to take off or not, when it's going to land, long delays while you're sitting inside the aircraft. What happens? Is Indigo penalized by the government? Air India is penalized by the government? I mean, if the excuse is that it's a private airline and therefore we can't do much about it, there is a government control on almost every part of our life around us. So what the
Mm,
opposition parties are saying, why are you? Who are you trying to shield?
No,
mm,
Pallavi, it is not just about these issues like customer service, which you're talking about. It's already been reported that there are many technical parameters on which Air India had been issued notices and which DGCA did not follow through. So I think the
Yeah,
criticism of DGCA as an authority is most valid, and that is something which opposition really must take on because
yeah.
it
yes,
has been it's been a very sleeping body. It's
correct.
it's a position of a DGCA director, etc. I think these are plum postings. What people really do, we don't know. So that is there,
And most
but
probably there are people who don't even understand what aviation is all about.
I can't comment on that, but they're certainly, caught sleeping, napping on their job or on the cockpit. But here also, the airline needs to be taken. If you see, Advaita, all the other incidents which have happened even subsequently, a
Mm,
plane from San Francisco coming and having to land in Calcutta airport, and it is, I don't know whether it's still lying, but it was waiting there because of malfunction. Passengers were inside, and there are so many other ones which have happened. Now, either these things were happening earlier and not getting reported and getting highlighted today. So there is a serious concern about the running of Air India, and the
okay, let me
problem.
get Captain in
But
on that.
once,
Let me,
one,
yeah,
one more sec,
quickly,
one more
quickly,
minute,
Sandeep. Yeah.
quickly, very quickly. The problem, Captain, I'd ask your comment. I think both these airlines, Indigo is stated a budget airline, so they try to cut corners, squeeze everything. Air India is not saying that, but they're trying to, because of cost pressures, running it again as a low-cost airline because the CEO, he comes from this Singapore Airlines budget airline arm, and I think, look, I have found his general attitude very, very callous. And they're running a full service airline, but they're, I think, trying to cut corners. And this is something which, again, has to be questioned. Sorry, Captain, go
Okay,
ahead.
Captain. Captain, is there any legitimacy to safety concerns? Because we've all seen those horrific viral videos where people are sitting in the plane, the air conditioning is not working, water is not being served, etc., etc. But safety is a whole other thing.
Water not being
Uh,
served. I was on an aircraft, Advaita, I tweeted, where they told us to use the bottled water for the toilet. I was flying to Vietnam from Delhi in the business class, and there was no water, and they said, please use the bottled water.
Okay, go ahead, Captain.
I'd like to comment on one aspect. Air India has been flying for close to 80 years now, and there are a whole lot of aviation professionals who are there in India. Also, Tatas are such a big organization. In a country of 1.4 billion, they could not find an Indian CEO.
Mm-mm.
When an Indian can run Google, I think an Indian can run Air India too.
Yep.
So that's a question which needs to be answered. Why do we need people coming from outside, and that also a person who has been looking after a small airline equivalent of SpiceJet in India, and ask him to run an international airline with such a vast network? I don't think that was the right decision. So we need to look at it. We don't want to make it into Air India into an East India company again, and we should have our own people running the system. And Tata's with a massive organization, I think they can find a person who can run Air India better.
Yeah, and there's a myth, Captain, what is propagated. Tata ran Air India first, they've done it so well, but they've been out of it business for 60 years. It's like my saying my grandfather ran some business, or my forefather, and therefore I'm able to run that business. If there are 3 generations after that haven't done anything, so where is Tata's core competency today? It's not as if they were running an airline till yesterday. They run hotels fine. That's another hospitality sector, but airline is a different ballgame than running hotels.
But
No,
to be
the
fair,
point is
Captain.
the point is that there have been a lot of people who have grown up in the Indian aviation system, and I'm sure the system can find an Indian to run Air India
So
and in a better
there,
way.
Indians have run foreign airlines, Captain, as you know.
Yes, Indians are running
Uh,
very big
the,
organizations worldwide.
Ronald Atta ran American Airlines. There are many such people who run international airlines.
Hmm, hmm, hmm. And Captain, the safety thing again. How safe are our skies? Because I told you I'm a nervous flyer. I'm sure there are many, many more like me, thousands and lakhs. And when an incident like this happens, it sort of really shakes us up a little more than it does other people because we're already predisposed to these kind of scenarios, at least imagining them.
See, this kind of accident in wide body Air India has happened after 40 years. And as per one of the studies, if a person has to meet with a fatal accident, air accident, that person has to fly for 1,03,000 years non-stop to meet with a fatal accident. So air travel is extremely safe. On Indian roads, close to 1,60,000 people, I mean, my figures may be wrong, die. Do we stop driving on the roads? No. Do we stop traveling by trains? No. So air travel is very safe and Indian skies are safe. One need not worry about that. What we need to focus right now is why this accident has taken place. And we have got to come to a good conclusion and apportion blame where it belongs and not make irresponsible statements.
Not on a lighter note, but it's a fact. I just flew in an Air India flight from Calcutta to Delhi. When we were boarding the flight, I found a lot of passengers, and I must admit, including me, peeping into the cockpit, trying to figure out where are those controls, something. And luckily, there was no pilot there. They would have asked him that, do you know how the control operates? So, yeah, it's true.
I actually asked a pilot that, and a relative of mine who very kindly explained to me that they are located between the two pilots. Am I right, Captain? They're between
Yeah,
that
it
both.
is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's where we
So
were.
both
I was
pilots
trying to
have
look.
access. Yeah, the both pilots have access to it, Captain, and also this is someone was asking on the chat, so I'll put this to you. Can this be tripped up electronically or cyber hacked or something like that, or it needs a manual intervention?
Well, if a fighter aeroplane can be jammed, missiles can be jammed, there are electronic counter measures. A civil aeroplane being hacked is a very strong possibility. I would not deny that.
Wow. Wow.
I
That
mean,
takes it.
if defense equipment with so much of security that can be hacked, civil aeroplane, strong possibility.
That's a strong possibility because initially, when this accident did take place, there was this whole, conversation about sabotage, especially so close to, Operation Sindoor and that sort of unpleasantness and that we came through.
And
And
those
then you're,
celebi people, yeah, that celebi being removed, Turkey.
ah,
But
correct,
anyway,
correct.
Pallavi,
So
don't
I
sit next to your driver in the car because I'm afraid that you might just try to seize the control in your panicking. Do backseat driving, okay?
Hey, 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 very funny.
With today's technology, we can disable satellites. We can destroy satellites. Aircraft
wow.
क्या
There's
चीज़
a
है?
problem with so much of computerization, huh? So best not to be tech savvy like this. It's so scary.
And my greatest fear, of course, remains clear
She
air
won't fly
turbulence.
again. In any case, at West
No,
Point,
my
she refuses to fly. So now to और भी नहीं. And you went to Turkey also, remember?
Do you have to bring up Turkey because everyone's trolled me enough? I just want to say I went to Turkey before Operation Sindoor, like 2 years before it. So at that time, I went in the year of Operation Dost.
But you,
Okay.
you
Yeah, I
praised
went in the year of
Turkey so
Operation
much.
Dost when we helped them with their earthquake relief work.
So
So
you
come on,
praised Turkey so much. You contributed
lovely
to the
people.
yeah. So to tourism trade, you have contributed to the economy because you're after all an influencer. Your
Yeah,
recommendations, work, and in that way, indirectly, you've contributed to this Turkish, influence in the Pakistan war.
okay. But Captain, they are very capable of going completely off tangent. And I know you're here for a specific person. So I kept purpose, but I also have a personal question. Captain, what are the most turbulent routes in India and abroad? I know the Bay of Bengal is really bad. I mean, the Bay of Bengal is terrible.
There's no
Flying
No,
over
such
that
there.
thing like
that
that. It
that
all
that
depends on
part
the weather, yaar, Advaita. इतना
No, no, Bay
civilized
that
of
बन रहा
Bengal
है.
is very bad.
that part of the country is famous for Kal Baisakhi, if you have heard this word.
Yeah, I
No.
have,
Nor'westers.
but Kal Baisakhi is
Nor'westers,
seasonal,
yeah.
na?
Yeah, regional. So that is the reason when you fly over that area during monsoons and you are like
Yeah, so
experienced,
it's about the weather. It's not the
it's about
route.
the weather.
Don't malign
But
Bengal,
you,
yeah, just because it's Bay of
but
Bengal.
some airports are dangerous, Advaita. That you need to be careful. Don't fly
I know I
those
was
airports.
supposed to go to Bhutan for a lit fest, and then I looked up this whole landing in Thimphu is supposed to be one of the most dangerous landings in the world. I sent my regrets to the lit fest and said thanks, but no thanks. You know?
Those are very dicey.
Yeah,
Mangalore itself is dicey.
Yeah,
Very,
Mangalore had that air crash. It's a tabletop airport, na?
yeah, yeah. I know about that. Captain, which are the dangerous airports? It's kind of tricky landing ones.
Yeah, there are certain airports for which pilots require special qualifications. One is Leh, one is Patna, and
Why Patna? Why Patna? That's interesting.
Patna is a very short. It has got a very short runway.
Oh.
Very very short runway. One end of the runway is the railway line, and the other end of the runway is a Patna Secretariat, which has got a high tower.
Oh my God.
So
Acha,
that
I
is
didn't know this.
considered one of the. For that, you require special qualification. Pilots have to be qualified for that. Leh is also one of them. But yeah, we have been flying to those places.
Srinagar also? Or
Srinagar is
Srinagar is
okay.
okay. Nepal, Kathmandu is supposed to be dicey.
Yeah,
Uh, I've never
it's
been
yeah.
to
like a
Kathmandu.
bowl. Kathmandu is like a bowl, So they're also, as you were saying, it's dicey, but it's fairly okay. But there are others which are,
It's Kathmandu. Kathmandu is terrifying, Captain, because there is at one point you're just surrounded by mountains,
yeah, it's like
snow
it's like a
peaks,
bowl. Yeah,
and those who like those things are looking out the windows and very excited. And people like me are like,
so,
"This is there is nothing. They're
yeah, yeah.
surrounded by mountains, and that's it." So it's
The
very frightening.
bigger problem is with the small planes, which do not have advanced equipment and they don't have that lift, So sometimes that's where those crashes happen in Kathmandu area.
More like
But
in Pokhara and places like that.
uh, but
But Captain,
but
Captain,
Advaita, don't you travel with a parachute in your bag and all that? You
that
must
doesn't
be
help.
taking those with quite
Yes,
a
Captain. Actually, that brings me to the one survivor on seat number 11A. What was it? I mean, how did he survive this devastating accident?
It's just God's grace. I'll give you another example. There was
Yes.
a flight from Calcutta to Patna, and that flight crashed over a veterinary college short of the airfield. Everyone died except one person. And you know how he survived?
How?
He came down strapped in the seat and he fell on a heap of cow dung.
Oh,
He got buried into the cow dung and he survived.
wow.
Jesus
God has
story.
his own ways.
But I know, Arvita, again firsthand, there were six of our colleagues traveling from Aurangabad at that air crash. Two of them front of the aircraft just walked out of the aircraft, and they were the people who first looked for the body of the other colleague. They just were aware of the aircraft Captain remember that.
I think your voice is breaking, Sandeep. We can't really hear you. But
Are
this
you
seat
hearing
11A,
me?
Captain, something like 20 years ago, there was another flight, and it was seat 11A again that the passenger survived in. Just a fun fact for people.
11A is actually a seat which is right next to the entry door.
Hmm.
So that could be one of the factors, because the entry door, it may have flown off, and there was a passage created and he fell out of that. So 11A
Correct.
is right next to the entry door.
It was unreal, Captain, because in that video where he's walking away from the ball of fire, he's like calmly walking and on the
I
phone, and
think he
it's
was very numb and all, no? Because we tried
yeah, yeah,
speaking to him
almost.
yesterday when I was in office. We called him up, because we wanted his response. His voice was very shaky and he said, I'm still going through a lot of mental trauma. I think it's now kind of sinking in after a month. So imagine,
And he
yeah, I
lost
mean, you're
his brother.
surrounded.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
he
lost
lost
his
his
brother
brother,
on
and
this.
imagine
Yeah.
Advaita, he must be surrounded by so many dead bodies and he's seeing it all in flames.
I think a little bit of PTSD. Captain, also another thing that we heard, and this was not just to do with Indian pilots, but pilots around the world were experiencing anxiety attacks after this. Why is it like we've had air crashes? Why is it that this one has had such an impact on pilots all over the world, not just here?
I don't think many pilots have gone through that. There are, it's a cross section of the society. There are all kinds of people coming from all walks of life. So, like a normal person, like Pallavi was saying, that person was shaken up. There may be pilots who are not so mentally strong, cannot take this kind of a thing very, in a mature manner. So it's possible. So there are all kinds of mental states. Different people have different mental states. But I really do not think that there are many pilots who have gone through that. There may be a few which have got reported because of this accident. It has got highlighted, in the media.
And different experience levels and different all those things. It's not one size. What I was telling you, Advaita, then is six of my colleagues were on the two of them died, four of them were saved. They just walked out of the aircraft. And all the people in the front, and these people, in fact, tried to locate the bodies. And so these are all, I suppose, ordained or
Did,
whatever you want to call it.
did those four ever fly again?
Oh, they did. They did.
Oh, they did.
They did later on. So it's a different experience. When you've seen death so close, I think it has an internal, total, a different transformation.
And Captain, before we close this out, I want to ask you, what has been your most like exciting or turbulent story or anything like that for our viewers? Personal anecdote. Or
I
have you had a
was
very boring flying career?
No, I mean, God's grace, I've never had any serious issue inside the aeroplane. I was a fighter pilot. I was flying the MiG-21. A lot of people say that it was a flying coffin. No, it's a wonderful aeroplane to fly. I flew it for close to 10 years and never had any technical problem or any failures. So it's the way you look at life. We are trained to handle emergencies. We are trained to tackle issues. So whenever anything of that kind occurs, we take action accordingly. We quietly do things. Another point which I would like to highlight is that if a pilot makes a mistake, the regulators and the airline come down so heavily on the pilot. But when the pilot does a good job, I'm yet to see anybody rewarding or awarding that pilot.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with. I can feel it, and same happens with me also at work. But
Oh
Captain, I
God.
want to ask you this question. Captain, I want
You're
to
not
ask you this
responsible
question.
for hundreds of lives, Pallavi. You're not
Yeah,
responsible for
but no,
hundreds of
that was
lives.
what I
There's a
like. I mean,
difference.
Captain, what about the families? I mean, the families must be very worried, huh? Like each time you would fly and there were these incidents, how would your family react? They would be
Well,
scared, I guess.
families have made a choice to get married to a pilot, so they know what they were getting into.
But one is never
It's
well prepared, I guess. One is always scared and
it's there
worried.
with the pilot or in the armed forces and everything in
Yeah.
that
Yeah, I
way.
mean, I was in the Air
That
Force. The
fear
family
must be
used
there,
to,
I guess. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a
So
part of life.
you didn't fly commercially, Captain?
No, no, he did. Air India.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was flying the
Okay.
Dreamliner. I flew the Dreamliner.
Okay. Oh,
He
I was
was
okay.
with
with
Right.
he
So
I
was
was
with
with
you
Air
fighter
India for
pilot
30
before
years.
that.
you can then tell
Wow.
us about some interesting experience with passengers like Advaita and all who created a first aircraft or something like that. Though that could also be
If you had
I
joined
think
the
energetic.
he
show
is
on
that person.
time,
I think she went up to the captain for help at some point of time. That's how they know each other.
I see. Okay. She panicked, is it?
no, I've actually had a captain sitting next to me once. I think that's called deadheading, right, Captain?
Yeah,
When
deadheading. Yeah.
when you're heading back. So he actually sat next to me and talked me through the whole flight. And we were in the last row, which is, let me tell all my viewers, is that worst row to be in because it's the bumpiest for some reason.
It's
Apart
also
from
next
being
to a
next
loo,
to the
yeah.
loo. And next to the loo also, but
I,
it's the
I,
bumpiest.
I must tell you a story which is not of an accident, but somewhat close to it. I used to live in Kathmandu when the IC-814 hijacking happened. We had a lot of people on the flight. I won't get into the story how the narrow
I
miss for my
don't.
daughter over there. But then the flights were, canceled for several months. And then when they resumed, I happened to be on again, the first flight, 814, coming back. So when I was sitting there, first, the steward came up to me and said, "You'd be very happy to know I was on the flight 814 which got hijacked." I said, "Acha, fine." Then he said, "All the other crew members were also there." I said, "Yeah." And, then he said the pilot was also the same pilot. We all asked for this roster. And I said, okay, but is the hijacker also on the same flight? Don't tell me that everybody is asking for the same roster. And so that's a different sort of an experience you have over there. And, those people had actually asked for it, because they were going through. They said, you can't imagine 4 days if you have been in an aircraft, closed there, not knowing whether you'll survive or die. It is such an experience. So all of
Yeah.
us wanted to get it out of our system by
And
asking
also
to
dealing with
fly
all
there.
those passengers, yeah, the nervous, shrieking passengers. Must not have
No,
been
they were
easy,
all part. No, but they were all part of the same thing. Then that situation,
Yeah.
nobody can blame each other. You are just holding on to their life.
You blame the security guy at the airport. That's who you're blaming at that point of time. But Captain, final question. It's again off topic, but since you also have this interesting career in military aviation, I want to know about that stealth bomber that the Americans sent. Can you tell us a little bit about it? Because that plane, it seems, flew 36 hours non-stop, and they have like a little kitchen and a bathroom in the plane, from what I've understood, and 3 pilots.
Is that right? I mean, I haven't had a look at that aeroplane, and something seriously has gone wrong with the aeroplane. That's why it was stuck there, and not
Oh, you're talking
some of
about, no, I'm talking about the one that went from the US, bombed the nuclear sites
okay,
in Iran,
yeah,
and
yeah,
turned around and went right back.
yeah. Those aeroplanes can fly for very long distances, and they have everything inside the aeroplane. They have a toilet, they have a bedroom, everything is there.
A bedroom to sleep also. Wow.
Yeah,
Bedroom. Why would anyone want to sleep on the plane?
Yeah, but
Are the long
no,
routes,
that
na? Long routes.
yeah,
I
long
think
routes.
more than the loo, etc. I think the training, mental training to fly that distance is much more. And there were very
Yeah.
interesting articles written about how these people are actually trained, because you're totally flying some 36 hours up and down and all of it. So
And the
that is the more critical part of it,
and the
rather than
best
just
part
using.
is and the best part is that you expect somebody to fly for that long and perform at his peak at the time when he's required to perform.
It was
Yeah.
incredible,
If
incredible
somebody flying
training.
for 18 hours and you tell him that, here is the target and you get a direct hit, I mean, that's asking for quite a lot. If you're working in an office 9 to 5 and somebody tells you at 5 o'clock, do this and don't make a mistake.
I know Pallavi already always finds herself in those
Captain,
situations and makes a
I can
mistake.
empathize with you because there are times when we are like, I'm no one, I'm nothing in comparison to what you people do, but Yeah, I can understand what you go
Pallavi,
through.
you're not responsible for 200 plus lives every time you go into work.
I
That's what
influence
pilots are
200
doing.
plus lives, possibly. That mental
Even
thing is also important.
even in international flying, somebody flying for 16 hours non-stop, and the fag end of the flying time, you tell that person, very high density traffic, don't make a mistake.
Um, or you're told to
Thanks for
circle, you're not
introducing
able to
that into
land also
my
after 16 hours sometimes, no? Because of
thanks for introducing that into my anxiety notebook, Captain. And I've
she's
never really
not
thought of
flying.
I've
She's
never
not going
really
to be
thought of
flying.
crashing. I always think it's a good time when you're about to land. Kuch bhi ho, at least we're touching ground. Now I've got something else to think about. But yeah, nothing is worse than clear air turbulence. I'll say that again.
Let me tell
Because
you,
you know,
Advaita, as a last note, the kind of torture you go through driving down from Gurugram to Delhi, it's easier to fly.
That's a good one. So, Pallavi, as we wrap up, tell us some more gossip of what's happened during the week, political gossip, and what
Sandeep,
to
bye
look
bye.
for. Why?
You've gone back to Kolkata. You were supposed to take us out for dinner today.
No,
What
no, I'm in
happened?
Delhi. I'm in Delhi. I'm waiting for y'all.
Oh.
so
I
we can
just
meet
landed.
tomorrow for dinner. Captain, you can join us if you feel
Captain,
like it.
please join us for dinner. That is if Sandeep gives us dinner.
I'll
Captain,
give
Where
you
where
is
do you
dinner,
live?
but it
I'm in
has to be
sector
early.
50, Gurgaon.
It'll be
You're in
Captain, where do
early.
you
Gurgaon?
live?
Yeah, I'm in Gurgaon.
Oh, I'm in Gurgaon also.
Yeah,
I
Okay, the
don't
two of
it's
call
them
sector
are
don't
meeting
50.
up.
don't call
Huh?
me
Okay,
to come to Gurgaon. I won't do that.
Sandeep, these two will catch up in Gurgaon. You and I will catch up in Delhi.
Okay,
No,
fine.
I'll come to
Don't,
Delhi also. I don't mind.
No,
I
no,
don't mind
no.
coming.
Sandeep
come,
and I
come.
are going out for dinner tomorrow. This is public, guys, on Sunday Club.
I can drive
I have
Captain to Delhi.
agreed.
Then let's see how
I
safe he
have
feels.
agreed for a dinner with Sandeep Ghosh tomorrow. In case a dinner doesn't happen, it's not my fault. It is Sandeep's fault.
No,
The entire Sunday
no,
Club is hearing this. Captain, you've heard
you
it.
you don't turn up, Pallavi. You always, that's been the story of my life. You set up these dates and then finally call me to the IWPC and give me a Nimbu Pani or Nariyal Pani,
No,
something. I'm panna.
we
I'm
all must
panna.
have dinner together once. All four of
Yes,
us
Captain,
Surely.
we
must
must
plan a
have.
dinner.
Yeah.
We
Captain, we
must have
can
We
dinner.
would love
tomorrow.
to.
Captain, I'll drive you to Delhi so you can feel safe as well with me behind the wheel on the road.
No, no, no. Captain, I'm telling I warn you. I warn you. No. She's one of those panic ones. The
No,
better.
Captain was giving us all these statistics
Very well.
on how safe road travel is.
So have fun. Good night. Okay.
Thank
Bye.
you
Good
so much,
night.
Captain
See you
Rai,
all.
for joining
Nice
us.
talking
And
to all.
Captain, wonderful
Thank
to
you.
speak to you. And don't worry,
Wonderful.
I support the pilots totally, so it's fine.
Thank you.
yeah,
Thanks
No,
a
we
lot.
all do.
Thanks
We
for
all
having me.
do.
and you made it, I suppose, one of the finest Sunday Club show where a lot of
Yes.
information, a lot of this thing. Otherwise, our show degenerates by, first 15 minutes. And then,
No, it
so
doesn't degenerate. It's just that you didn't get to talk too much today, which is why the show was salvaged. We had
oh,
And
some
okay.
Sohail
I
didn't
sensible
never,
talk
come.
coming in from the captain.
And Sohail didn't come today because there's Wimbledon. I'd forgotten that there is
yeah.
Wimbledon. So
Thank you,
He right,
Wimbledon. Thank you,
and
thank you.
he's
At least we
writing
got to
for
speak.
my 41st straight Wimbledon final. Now he's talking as if he's playing the final. Yesterday he posted on Insta and then my 41st straight Wimbledon final. How pompous can people get?
That's a good one. Gee, that's a good
and
one.
and AIM is on a plane as we speak, coming back from Jaipur. Who flies from Jaipur to Delhi? I mean, that's just ridiculous to me. It's so much easier to drive down.
No, no, not
You
at all.
know,
Not at all.
no, the roads are,
Roads
last
are
note,
good
I'll tell you one
5 hours.
thing.
It takes 5 hours.
No,
It
it's
takes.
Captain, we'll
not.
let
It's
you
now
go
three and a
because
half
these
to
people
4
will
hours.
keep talking nonsense.
No, I'm having fun.
Oh, you're
Captain
having
is
fun. Okay,
enjoying
then
it. Come on, Captain, that is not fair. Huh? We have fun also.
From
Yeah.
Delhi to Gurgaon itself takes you 2 hours. Rest of 3 hours on the road. So 5 hours in all.
No, that's not true. There's a highway,
Okay.
there's an expressway. Okay, bye.
Bye, bye, bye.
express.
See you.
Okay, Captain, hope to have you back on the show again and,
Yes.
on other topics as well if you enjoy. our
Yeah,
banter and our
definitely.
and the topics we choose. It would be lovely to have you back, especially on
Thank you.
military and airline related stuff. So,
See you.
Definitely.
okay, thank you everybody for
Thank
watching,
you. Thank you.
and we shall see you soon. And talk soon again. But take care of yourself. Stay safe. If it rains in Gurgaon, don't go out because you know what happens then. Bye for now.
Thank you. Thank you, Adita.